One Piece is one of those shows that everybody asks me to get into. I've been told by at least 5 different people that I need to give it a go. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to check it out. Then I had a look how long it is, and my god, that is a gargantuan task. I struggle to believe that somebody can simply just get into something that has over 100 chapters to it, so despite my friend's best efforts, I've not yet managed to get into One Piece. But this game changed my mind. From seeing the trailers and everything previewed about it, it really looked like the perfect gateway to get into the series. It's absolutely crazy to think that One Piece has finally reached its 25th anniversary. It has a staggering amount of manga and anime for fans to indulge in, and the series is beloved around the world. So to mark this occasion, and to save the people from reading the sheer amount of comics out there, Bandai Namco decided to go all out with One Piece Odyssey. This is a JRPG, so it's a lot different to other adaptations of the games that we've seen so far. There's also been a massive change to the traditional gameplay format that we've seen in previous One Piece games, so before you buy it, you should be wary of this if you played the games of the past and enjoyed them. It's interesting to see it translated into a JRPG. I mean, can you really deliver the fast-paced action set pieces and the flashy visuals that we've seen in the show before? There's been a lot of tension waiting for this one from fans across the world, but any fears or concerns of that can be crushed, because it's a really good game. It's taken inspiration from classic JRPGs such as Dragon Quest and the Tale of series, and honestly, One Piece Odyssey not only manages to be the greatest One Piece game ever made, but also one of the best JRPGs in my recent memory. One Piece is not a stranger into dipping its toes into various genres, but making the jump to full-on JRPG and removing the combat systems that fans have grown to love over the years was going to be a risky move. It was safe to say they would have had a challenge to make it as disappointing as the previous entry, One Piece World Seeker, which fell flat on its face to say the least. While it was fun to play in small bursts, the open-end environment really just didn't hit home, and it never really truly captured the magic of the franchise at all. It felt very stilted, and just a bit bland really. The Pirate Warrior series has really been where the game adaptations have thrived in the past. These games allow players to take on waves of enemies in what would be considered true Musou fashion. One Piece Odyssey kicks off when Luffy and the crew crash on a mysterious island. The crew suddenly lose their powers that have been bestowed upon them over the years, and they have to set out on an adventure to retrieve the mystical cubes that harness all of their powers. Once they found these cubes, the team of heroes thrust themselves right into a memory of past adventures, which is great to see, and it allows fans to relive the famous arcs from the series. But the stories themselves aren't exactly like we've seen them written down. There are some slight variations to the classic stories to keep things fresh, while also giving you that nice whiff of nostalgia. The person who wrote our written review is a massive fan of One Piece, so really appreciate these throwbacks. But the sort of changes to the old stories, and the fact that the old stories were included themselves, were great for someone like me, who hadn't really read the old stuff. It was a nice way to jump into the series and kind of get a rushed history of what One Piece actually is. It pretty much allows anyone to jump in and embrace the story, but it's also not in a condescending way. It doesn't hold your hand to explain every character and relationship. It portrays the characters really well, and it doesn't need to tell you what the characters are all about. You find that out yourself. As far as the narrative goes, it's a fairly standard JRPG, and it soon settles you into the rhythm of completing different arcs as you visit memories from past worlds. The execution is nothing entirely groundbreaking, and it feels very similar to the Dragon Quest games, as opposed to the likes of Final Fantasy. But it's really nicely paced, and the game feels great, even when you're on some of the slower sections. I think the main thing everybody was worried about with One Piece Odyssey was how the combat's going to fare. But just from the first hour of playing through the game, you can tell the combat is absolutely great. Any worries I had about turn-based combat was soon eradicated, and it really feels at home in One Piece Odyssey. Anyone who has played a classic turn-based game before will feel right at home. But there are some interesting changes to this which will drastically change the tide of the battles. You can expect the usual for your characters, like using standard attacks or your skills in fights. Skills are used by gathering tension points, which are built up from using normal attacks. These skill moves are visually impressive, and they pack a powerful punch at the same time. You're able to utilise the entire Straw Hat crew in battles at any time. 4 of them will be on the battlefield, but you're able to interchange them, almost like you would with Pokemon, and you can do this whenever you feel like. Every character is embodied with one of 3 attack types: power, speed, and technique. Each is effective and ineffective to other types. So for example, speed is strong against technique, but weak against power. You move your characters around like chess pieces almost, and this ensures that they're tackling the right target. Your team of 4 will often be separated, meaning 2 of your heroes could be fighting one set of enemies, while the other 2 fight another group. This gives you an extra level of challenge, as heroes cannot move from their area, whilst enemies are blocking their path. You're going to have to carefully plan your battles out here, and mix and match your heroes up. You also need to utilise skills to not only defeat your foes in front of them, but also assist your heroes who might be fighting up against an enemy they're actually weak against. You can help them by swapping a character out with a reserve, or you can utilise a hero's skill from further away to help them out. A good example is if Luffy is pinned down, you can use Usopp's Exploding Star skill. This attacks enemies from afar, and will help Luffy out. There's also an inclusion of dramatic battles. These are unique conditions that will randomly appear in a fight. They may consist of tasking you to take down an enemy before a certain amount of turns, or to take down a group before they knock out an enemy. It adds an extra level of tension to battles, and rewards you for completing them as well. Completing these extra challenges will give you loads of experience, which trust me is going to be needed later on. If you're a JRPG veteran, the combat in One Piece Odyssey is a touch on the easier side. While it is a simple way to ease in the One Piece fans into the new battle system, I feel it would have been a bit more appreciated to see a variety of combat difficulties, instead of just the one. But in saying this, the challenges in the combat are great, and it never feels like it's too easy or too difficult at the same time. Honestly, One Piece has never looked this good in a game, and you'll find yourself on countless occasions just standing there and admiring the scenery. It's a shame at this moment in time there's no photo mode, but I'm certain with the fans' reaction to this game there's going to be one added soon enough. It's open world to a degree. If you played any of the Dragon Quest titles, the game structure will feel extremely similar. Instead of having one huge world to explore that's open, everything is segregated into separate zones. There are a few open plains to explore, but for the most part you will be exploring offset paths that will lead you down different winding corridors to see everything the game has to offer. In the opening few hours it can feel a bit linear, and your characters will often stop you from venturing off the beaten path. But once the wheels are off and you're good to go, it leans way more into the traditional JRPG feeling. Each character has their own way of interacting with the world, and you can swap between any of them at any moment. Luffy can use his Gum Gum Rocket ability, and use his stretchy arms to traverse hard to reach locations, while Chopper's small height can be used to navigate small tunnels where items, collectibles and even shortcuts may reside. One Piece Odyssey also boasts some really impressive dungeon designs. While the structure of them does not exactly break the mold of the game genre, it does offer room for exploration. It's also a great place for your character's abilities to come into play, such as Luffy's power to break down destructible walls. They're not exactly open in designs, but they do offer players room to scour out the environment for hidden chests and cube fragments, which you will definitely need to power up each of your character's skills. When you're not stuck in dungeons, you'll be exploring the outer wilds. These include the likes of lush jungle environments all the way to gorgeous sandy deserts. Since Odyssey takes the players through the whole franchise's history, you'll expect to explore many of the diverse locales that have been seen in the series over the years. A tip as well, you definitely should be playing this game in graphics mode. Performance mode is great, but it actually drastically lowers the resolution, and it blurs a lot of the visuals as well. There's more than just the main quest to explore. Throughout the world you'll come across a variety of side quests and bounties that you can complete. They're pretty standard in their approach. Most of them boil down to just taking down some enemies or finding a particular item, but it's a great way to explore the expanded story. Unlike a lot of games that are out at the moment, you'll never be fully swamped with quests, and the side quests won't build up to an overwhelming amount, but you should definitely consider doing some before trancing through the main storyline. These quests offer you the ability to further level up your characters, and give you the edge on combat later in the game. One Piece Odyssey is not the longest game in the world, but it's also not the shortest. You'll be looking at around 30 hours to complete the main story. If you want to see everything that the game offers, including completing all the side quests and gathering every collectible, you're probably looking at about 70 hours to do a full completion. Now the big question, should you buy One Piece Odyssey? There's some slight fumbles in the gameplay, I'm not going to lie, but it's a solid JRPG adventure. It doesn't break the mold per se, and it may borrow from long-term running series in the genres such as Dragon Quest, but it wears those inspirations on its sleeve and embraces them, rather than taking the mick out of them. The changes the series have made to its combat have really embraced that the game's going in new directions, and it makes it a really engaging experience as well, and one that fans of One Piece will no doubt want to embrace. Whether Bandai Namco decide to continue this venture down the JRPG route remains to be seen, but honestly, with the way One Piece Odyssey plays, I feel it's going to go down really well with the fans. I honestly think if you're a fan of the game, you should give it a try. And even if you're not a fan of One Piece like myself, and you just always wanted to kind of take the step into getting into the series, it's definitely one you should play. One Piece Odyssey truly has started 2023 off on the right foot. It's got very high production value, it offers beautiful worlds, intuitive combat, and a wonderful celebration to one of the best mangas ever created. I may not have been a big fan of the series beforehand, but I definitely am now. So yes, you should buy One Piece Odyssey. We reviewed this on the PS5 with the code provided by Bandai Namco, so a big thank you goes to them for providing and creating this excellent game. If you're into ratings, we gave One Piece Odyssey 8 out of 10. For more news and reviews, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to GG Recon Gaming. I've been Ollie and I'll see you next time.